It's 3 a.m. The world is asleep, but you are in the arena of your own mind. You are replaying a conversation from 3 weeks ago, dissecting a single word you said, imagining how it landed, crafting the perfect rebuttal you'll never deliver. You are analyzing a problem for the 47th time, circling the same logical perimeter, feeling mentally busy, but going absolutely nowhere. Society often calls this intelligence. We mistake a restless mind for a sharp one. But what if this exhausting mental churning isn't a sign of a powerful intellect? What if it's a disguise? Over a century ago, the psychologist Carl Jung diagnosed this very trap. He looked at the patient, lost in the maze of their own logic, and saw not a philosopher, but a fugitive. A person running from a single, terrifying destination. Their own heart. Jung famously observed, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. He saw chronic overthinking as the most sophisticated escape mechanism we have. It's a flight from legitimate suffering. Here's the mechanism. When life presents us with a wound, a deep sadness, a burning shame, or a primal fear, we have two choices. We can let that sensation wash over us, endure the storm in the body, and grieve. Or we can step back into our heads and figure it out. Intellectualization turns a lived experience into a sterile concept. You stop feeling the grief and start researching the 5 stages of it. You stop feeling the shame and start deconstructing the sociological reasons for why you messed up. This is a substitute. Jung referred to neurosis as a substitute for legitimate suffering. The pain of the mental loop is very real, but it is a pain we choose because it feels safer than the raw, vulnerable pain of simply feeling hurt. The mind would rather be tortured by riddles than broken open by reality. The inferior feeling function. To understand why some of us get trapped here, we need to look at Jung's psychological types. Jung described the thinking type, a person who orients their life primarily through logic, structure, and objective truth. This is a powerful gift, but every gift has a shadow. If your conscious, dominant function is thinking, your feeling function doesn't disappear. It sinks into the unconscious, where it remains primitive, undifferentiated, and highly explosive. When the thinking type neglects the heart entirely, the inferior feeling function erupts like a volcano. It doesn't come out as mature, nuanced emotion. It comes out as sudden moodiness, irrational hypersensitivity, or a burst of sentimentalism you're immediately embarrassed by. To avoid this terrifying loss of control, the thinking function doubles down. It runs on overdrive, trying to bludgeon a feeling to death with a spreadsheet of pros and cons. It's an attempt to rule an emotional kingdom with a cold, iron fist. The disconnect from the feeling tone. Jung taught that every complex in our unconscious carries a feeling tone. A memory isn't just a data file, it's an emotional charge. If you approach your inner world purely with the intellect, you dissect the corpse of the memory, but miss the spirit. You can analyze a dream about a storm and label it as a symbol of inner turmoil that's dry, safe, and ultimately dead. But to have a feeling-toned experience, you must close the textbook and stand in the rain of that dream. You must let the thunder rumble in your chest. True movement happens not when you understand your trauma, but when you re-experience the emotion attached to it. The cure isn't a better argument against your sadness. It's letting the sadness move through the body until it finishes its sentence. The vicious circle. This creates what we can call the hamster wheel, or what Jung identified as the vicious circle. A problem arises that is fundamentally emotional. Loneliness, a sense of inadequacy, a fear of failure. The thinker's reflex is, I will think my way out of this. But emotional problems don't follow computational logic. You can't solve a heartbreak like a math equation, so the logic produces no solution, which increases the anxiety. The thinker diagnoses this increased anxiety as a need for more thought. You are pulling the rope, tightening the knot, exhausting the psyche, and never addressing the vulnerable, bleeding core beneath the logic. It's a brilliant tool, the mind, but it has been turned inward to keep you from a confrontation with the truth. How do we step off the wheel? The resolution isn't to stop thinking. You cannot destroy a function of consciousness. The resolution is to ask a different question. When you catch yourself spiraling, stop asking, "What is the logical solution?" Instead, ask, "What am I feeling right now that I am trying not to feel?" Usually, it's a simple, ancient word: shame, grief, terror. To integrate the unconscious, we must reconnect thought with its feeling tone. This is Jung's active imagination. It's somatic tracking, finding where the stuck emotion lives in the body. It's the courage to name the dragon rather than analyze its scales. Drop the narrative of the problem. Feel the heat in your chest, the lump in your throat. That isn't a symptom of the overthinking. That is the very thing the overthinking is trying to silence. Overthinking was a defense mechanism that likely protected you once. When the real world was too chaotic, the mind became your sanctuary. But a sanctuary that locks from the inside eventually becomes a cage. The thinking function is a wonderful servant, but a tyrannical master. As you move forward, when the urge to loop begins, don't brace for a battle. Simply soften. Drop from the buzzing radio tower of your head down into the living, feeling, fleeting body. Look inside, not to analyze, but to feel. That is where the awakening waits.